Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Monday, September 22nd, West Fargo City Commission meeting. We'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join the commission in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will you please call the roll, Madam Secretary?
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Here.
Commissioner Zundell. Here. Commissioner Dardis.
Here.
Commissioner Olson.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here. Let the record show all commissioners are present. Item D is to approve the order of the agenda.
Move we approve.
I have a motion and a sec. Do I have a second to approve the order of the agenda?
Second.
Commissioner Zundell moves. Commissioner Jorgensen seconds. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Commissioner?
Were we going to move the item G on a consent? That would be changing the order of the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would like to change my motion.
Okay. Commissioner has requested that the gaming site authorization for Devils Lake American Legion Post 24 at the Lights Event Center be moved into the regular agenda. That will be item 2A. I have a motion and a second with that amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item E is to approve the minutes of September 8th, 2025. They have been distributed and in the packet.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as distributed for September 8th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item F is the approval of special assessment meeting minutes of September 15th, 2025. Again, they have been distributed and are in your packets.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Jorgensen moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. I have a motion and a second to approve the special assessment meeting minutes of September 5th, 2025. Is there any discussion? None. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item G is the building permits. I call on Commissioner Jorgensen.
I need to recuse myself from voting on this matter.
Commissioner Jorgensen has recused himself from voting on the building permits. They have been distributed and are in your packet.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Anderson moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Zundell seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the building permits as distributed. Is there any discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let the record show it's a 4 vote with 1 recusal. Commissioner Jorgensen. Next order of business is the consent agenda. I would remind you that we moved item G into the regular agenda, so we have items A through F and H and I.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Zundell moves to approve the amended consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda, items A through F, H, and I, excluding G. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are now on the regular agenda. First order of business on the regular agenda is public comment. Madam Secretary, we have one individual that signed up. I would invite to the podium Mr. David Withy. Good evening and welcome.
Some tall person puts this up every time just for me. Good evening, David Withy, 2421 McLeod Drive East. I'm here just to address the budget. I believe that they've done a good job putting that budget together, and I think it's to everybody's benefit that city governments in North Dakota now face similar issues that every other organization faces, which is some sort of cap on how much you can raise, whether it's through customer acceptance of price increases or whatever. 3% cap will help our staff become even more creative in figuring out how to get things done. I would suggest that, now, with that 3% increase, we should know that of the 10 largest expenses, 4 of the top 6 deal with personnel: salaries, healthcare, retirement, Social Security. So while overall expenses went up 3%, those 4 combined went up 6.1%, and they represent over 50% of the budget. As a result, that means everything else, on average, had a slight decrease. Well, that's good for the first year. But for future years, we all know that's just not going to work. And we're going to have to find ways to still make it work. And I would suggest the solution, a broad solution, is to figure out how to increase productivity, just like every organization has had to face over time. So only by increasing productivity can we manage not to decrease staff, but not have to add staff and still be able to get more done. I'm sure that Mr. Willie already knows this, Galindo already knows this, and already thinking of ways to do that. But that's a very important thing to do. I would also suggest that remember that certain funds are for a particular purpose. And for 2 years in a row now, we're using the capital projects sales tax fund to fund a street crew. I'm not certain that that's a good precedent to set. The money was passed as a sales tax for capital projects, not for employing people. So those are my suggestions. I think overall it's a really good budget. I look forward to seeing it being passed tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and effort.
Thank you. Again, we had only one individual that signed up for public comment. Public comment is now closed. We move into public hearings, which is item number 2 on the agenda. We have no public hearings this evening. So we move on to 2A. Again, 2A is the gaming site authorization for Devils Lake American Legion Post 24 at the Lights Event Center. This was a request by Commissioner Jorgensen, so I'll call on you.
I think Madam Secretary has some more information
Okay.
than that was in our packet.
Okay?
Yeah, so the question was, why is it not somebody that was local that came up before the meeting? This is an event that they do twice a year within West Fargo. It's just a poker tournament. Typically, it comes across as Tim running Legion Post 24, but they've done it for the past few years, so.
All right. Any questions on that information?
Thanks for the clarification.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Anderson moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Jorgensen seconds. I have a motion and a second on item number 2A, which is a gaming site authorization for the Devils Lake American Legion Post 24 at the Lights Event Center. Essentia at the Lights Event Center. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We move on to item number 3, is the 2024 audit presentation. We call on Mr. John Hagan from Eide Bailey for that presentation. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Thank you guys for having me. My name is John Hagan. I work with the local office here of Eide Bailey. I've been with Eide Bailey for just over 10 years, servicing now basically 100% of the government world, so cities, counties, school districts, so some special utility districts, but if it's government related, I've pretty much touched it. Our Eide Bailey office has been servicing City of West Fargo here for, I think it's 7 or 8 years now doing the audit. So tonight we'll be going over the executive summary, which is kind of a condensed version of the financial statements. Financial statements get longer and longer each year, new accounting principles and standards. So we like to present the executive summary similar to previous years with some tables and graphs just for comparability and being able to see some trend lines over the last couple of years. So with that, let's hop into the presentation. First one being your audit results and findings for the year. So the end goal of every single audit is to issue an audit opinion. So what does that mean? The city management is responsible for three things. The financial statements are prepared with the proper accounting standards, which is GAAP, that they are free of material misstatements, and that they are presented fairly. So we as auditors, we come out and through a series of standardized procedures and tests, we ultimately come to an audit opinion to provide reasonable but not absolute assurance on those financial statements. So the audit opinion as of December 31st, 2024 for the city was an unmodified opinion or a clean audit opinion in layman term. So exactly what you're going for from a financial statement audit perspective. With an audit opinion, we are required to formally communicate any audit findings. If you want to jump to the next slide. Not sure who's running.
If you want to grab the mouse on this one, sorry.
No, that's okay. Then I can just scroll?
You can.
Perfect. Now I got to multitask, so bear with me. As I was saying, so with an audit opinion, we do issue and present audit findings to those in charge of governance, which is you guys, broken down into two different categories, first one being financial statement findings. I will lump the first two together, the preparation of the financials and material journal entries. I alluded to it earlier. There's more and more accounting standards, and with that become larger financial statements. It gets a little bit tougher on finance office and staff to prepare and issue those financial statements. So we as auditors are commonly asked to prepare the financials, and when we do that, we do issue a finding. With that, we do also propose a number of journal entries to be adjusted on the financial statements to make sure that those standards are being followed. Again, very common for cities of your guys' size and repeat findings from previous years. I would anticipate those two findings kind of continuing forward as well. The third finding is segregation of duties, which is a fancy way of saying having enough hands and eyeballs on everything finance related. Those auditing standards are getting more complex and require more hands and eyeballs on things. And when there's vacancies in positions, it's really tough to do that. The city's had some turnover within their finance office last couple of years, and therefore has led to segregation of duties. Now that kind of that office is quieted down, I look forward to seeing the processes improve with the additional bodies and potentially removing that finding in the future. The second bucket there is federal awards. We'll touch on this on the next slide. Actually, I'll go there right now. So a secondary avenue of every audit is called a single audit, which is the audit of specific use of federal funds of the city. This is required anytime an entity expends over $750,000 in a fiscal year. The city did spend about $2.2 million in 2024, thus triggering this secondary audit. This audit, like I said, is over specifically those federal funds expended and is much more compliance driven. So we do issue a separate audit opinion over those funds, and the city did receive, again, an unmodified or clean audit opinion associated with those. And there were no findings of any kind as well with those. Next slide is a specific, kind of more of an FYI relating to a new accounting standard. This is a bigger accounting standard. Didn't change a whole lot from the numbers standpoint, but it did change some internal kind of accounting and tracking of compensated absences, which for the city is made primarily up of vacation and sick leave. It was a standard to kind of consistent recognition and measurement of those related liabilities. So strictly an FYI slide. So now we'll get into some of the numbers. I won't spend as much time on some of these slides, just kind of let you guys take them in. I'll cover high-level items as we go. First couple slides here are the cash and investment balances for the city. This does include all funds within the city. Again, cash and investments is made up of a couple different components, mostly deposits, certificates of deposit, CD balances, and some investments in some treasury notes and related U.S. government type investments. Total cash and investment balances for the city in total was about $110 million and change. These slides are all throughout the night presented within thousands. So keep that in mind as some of the numbers do look a little goofy. I have to retrain my brain when remembering that these are indeed in thousands. So overall, very consistent cash and investment balances within the city. Okay, from a liquidity standpoint, so kind of that current mindset of cash and investments as compared to kind of your current liabilities, which would be composed of accounts payable, related construction or retainage payable, accrued liabilities, unearned revenue, and then the big component would be your current maturities of principal and interest of those debt. So current liquidity ratio as of 12/31/2024 is coming in at right about 4, meaning you can turn over your cash balances about 4 times and cover those current liabilities. This graph does exclude the capital project cash balances, just because based on timing of debt proceeds, that can really swing this liquidity ratio, as well as the timing of kind of project payments. So we do exclude that, just kind of for comparability purposes. Okay, now the next couple slides will focus in on the general fund, which is the main operating fund for the city. First slide here, we have our revenues and transfers in, so ultimately money coming in the door. Composed of a bunch of different components. Primarily, the big driver would be your property taxes and special assessments. Secondary buckets would be your intergovernmental money coming from county or maybe state grant money. And then other components, license, permitting, fees, some other things like that. Overall, pretty consistent year over year from a bucket standpoint. One thing to note here in 2024, the yellow kind of other bucket did jump significantly. That's due to a unique paper transaction associated with governmental accounting. Your guys' lease proceeds associated with this building, it's a net wash to fund balance. It has to be recorded as proceeds coming in, and then capital outlay within the year the lease was signed. So again, paper transaction net zero, but that does lead to a little bit of a goofy looking jump here in 2024. So I did want to point that out. That was about $7.6 million. On the flip side to revenue is obviously expenditures, a key component to all city financials. General fund expenditures, as the previous gentleman mentioned, largely based within wages within the general fund, wages and wage-related type expenses, health insurance and other benefits. That's far and away the biggest category. Broken down into different departmental codes for the city, you have public works, public safety, general government make up your different color schemes there. Overall, very consistent uptick within those overall expenditures over the last 10 years, which is to be expected with the growth of the city and just general cost of things. So all in all, the last two slides come together and you have an ultimate impact to fund balance. In 2024, that net change was about a $4.5 million deficit. So it did decrease fund balance to an ending fund balance within just the general fund of about $14.4 million. So if you can kind of mentally circle that number here, the next couple slides will focus on that ending fund balance. So that ending fund balance of about $14.4 million in the general fund, what does that do for the city? It does a number of things. First, it contributes to a favorable bond rating. So as you guys have additional debt endeavors down the road, can produce better interest rates for the city. Secondly, it produces investment income and provides a source of working capital. So having your money work for you within the bank through interest rates and interest income is always a plus. And then thirdly, and most importantly, offers a cushion for unexpected expenditures or revenue shortfalls. Another pretty technical slide is breakdown of different fund balance categories within the general fund. I'll be pretty high level with this, but non-spendable is in the form of money that's already spent through prepaid expenses or inventory. Restricted would be restricted by outside sources legally. Common would be debt service or capital projects fund. There aren't currently any restrictions within the general fund, but there are those restrictions within the other funds of the city. The next three, committed, assigned, and unassigned, are kind of usually lumped together and considered as unrestricted. This is money that ultimately the city has at its discretion to spend how it would like. They can commit or assign money for certain projects or endeavors, and then ultimately everything left over would fall in the unassigned bucket, which is your last kind of unencumbered and kind of typically considered your city reserves or rainy day fund, if you will. So this shows a breakdown of those different fund balance categories. As I mentioned, there aren't currently any restrictions, committed or assigned fund balances within the general fund. So there is a very small bucket for non-spendable for some prepaid items for $113,000, and then everything else remaining of that $14.4 million bucket sitting in that unassigned. So I'll kind of let you guys take that in here before moving on. So here's another way to look at that unassigned only fund balance for the city. This shows trend lines over the last 10 years as opposed to annual expenditures within the city. Ending 2024 represents about 48% of annual expenditures. So another way to look at it would be the city could operate as is with no additional money coming in within the general fund for about 6 months. So about 48% of annual expenditures. So I know there's been some planned spending to deficit over the last couple of years to bring down some of those fund balances, but certainly something to kind of keep an eye on with the state climate on revenue stream constraints and stuff like that, where you guys want to be from a reserve standpoint. We get asked a lot, where should the city be? There isn't really a golden rule. There is no right or wrong. Every city operates a little bit differently depending on if they're more rural, if they're a bigger city or smaller city. Typically, we see somewhere in that 25 to 50% range of kind of annual expenditures, with the bigger cities usually having a little bit additional in reserve. So you're kind of right in line with what we typically see. But like I said, there is no necessarily right or wrong or golden rule. Next, we'll focus on quickly on a couple different funds, other funds for the city. First one being your capital projects fund. This is a pretty big fund for the city with all the growth and just other capital adventures for the city. This shows your capital expenditures over the last 10 years. Again, this is in thousands. So total capital outlay for the city within the capital projects was about let's call it 25 million and change. Very consistent over the last 4 years. Various projects throughout the city ongoing, improvement districts and road projects, sanitary sewer rehab projects, lagoon decommissioning are kind of some of the big heavy hitters. In total, the city does have about 44 million in construction in progress at year end, so kind of projects that have been started in the past and still ongoing. But fund balance specific to the capital projects is a positive. It's pretty common, depending on the timing functions of some of the funding mechanisms for those projects, for the fund balance to creep into a deficit, similar like you can see in previous years. There was a bond issued in 2024 for about 15 million, which did lead to an increase in that fund balance in 2024. So it's sitting in capital projects fund balance of about 8 million. As of 12/31/24. Okay, last couple slides are going to focus on the proprietary or kind of business type funds for the city. First one being your water and sewer fund. Those are presented together within the city financials. From an operational standpoint, this is a pretty nice slide to kind of summarize a bunch of different items. There's operating revenues is your top blue line there, followed by your operating expenditures excluding depreciation. So the city is operating at a net positive from operations, specifically with water and sewer, again, excluding depreciation. Once you factor in depreciation, which is kind of a paper expenditure, it's a cost of those assets built out over time based on the useful life of those assets. There is a deficit in the current year, which again is very common. You guys can see trend lines over the last 10 years have been very consistent. And then overall net change to fund balance did come in as a deficit, but again, it's due to that depreciation. Okay, next slide is your ending net position. That's kind of the counterpart to fund balance. They're the same things, different terminology within the financial statements. Overall net position of water and sewer fund is a very significant $310 million at year end, comprised almost exclusively, or a large chunk, I should say, about 96% of capital assets, a lot of infrastructure built into that water and sewer. The remaining 4% would be your typical assets, less liabilities of cash and investments, receivables, less any sort of liabilities and related debt. Those are really big dollar amounts, so a kind of a little bit better way to maybe look at it from a liquidity standpoint is year-end cash and investment balances. So what's sitting in the bank attributed to the water and sewer fund. Total cash and investments is about $12.4 million, where if you go back a few slides, annual expenditures in the water and sewer fund, excluding depreciation, is just over $10 million. So a full year's worth sitting in that cash and investment balance. Okay, and then very last fund is garbage fund, so very similar to water and sewer, kind of a business type fund for the city. First slide here being your operating statement. Again, money coming in from operations, money going out from operations, ultimately leading to your operating income. We do include depreciation in on this just because the total assets in the garbage fund are much smaller, so it skews this slide much less. So for comparability, it's still good to have that in there. But overall, operating basically at an exact break even in FY24. Typically speaking, we see kind of these proprietary funds operating at roughly a break even, or that's kind of the goal of most cities, making sure that they're sustainable for the long term, but obviously not trying to make a bunch of money off the citizens for some of these proprietary services. Last two slides similar to the water and sewer fund. Here's your net position or fund balance for that garbage fund. Again, attributed mostly to capital assets, about 73% in capital assets and in related infrastructure. Total FY24 net position of about $4.2 million. And then lastly, from a liquidity standpoint, total garbage cash and investments about $2.1 million. There has been some decrease over the last couple of years designed as the money has gone out the door to replace some of the garbage truck fleet within the city. Okay, I know I kind of sped through that. There's a lot of numbers in there, some pretty high level stuff. Hopefully it was mostly user friendly, but any questions before I go tonight?
Questions for Mr. Hagan? Please continue.
Okay, well, if anything does come up, feel free to relay those through Dustin or Willie, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you guys for having me, and I do want to give a special thank you to the finance office, Willie and team. We can be pretty demanding for a couple months with requests and questions, phone calls, meetings, stuff like that. And they're always responsive and very helpful, so they make our lives pretty easy. So we appreciate working with you guys and look forward to more successful audits in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
I am going to ask for a motion, please, yes.
I would make a motion to accept the 2024 audit.
Commissioner Zundel moves to approve the 2024 audit presentation by Ide Bailey. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. We have a motion and a second to accept the audit presentation for 2024 for the city of West Fargo. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We move on to item number 4. Item number 4 is a presentation by our Economic Development Director, Casey Sanders Berglund. It is in regard to a business incentive request. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Commission President Dardis, Commissioners. The application before you tonight is for sign badgers. This is a name you'll likely recognize in business as it was founded in West Fargo and remained here for the last 15 years. Within the last several months, this business ownership has changed. The brand, product, and team remain as sign badgers and are looking ahead at their next steps centered around stability and potential growth. However, moving forward begins with a new location for this business. During the search for space, Sign Badgers has identified two top choices, one of which is located in West Fargo and the other one in Fargo. Both of these spaces are approximately 5,000 square feet. The requirements for the space are a bit unique, as they need to accommodate a hyper-clean environment for printing equipment, as well as ventilation, air, and handling for computer and precision cutting, painting, and laser engraving equipment, while also offering a space for design, collaborative spaces, and operations offices. Sign Badgers is proud of their roots in West Fargo and would like to remain. However, when comparing the two options, the space in Fargo requires no tenant fit-up investment. The request before you today would make funding the portion of the tenant investment expense required, the request before you today would fund a portion of the fit-up expense required at the West Fargo location. This offset makes it retainable at the West Fargo site. This primary sector business collects approximately $12,000 to $15,000 in annual sales tax and employs 12 employees currently. The public participation requested today is $275,000, is funded through economic development sales tax, and is to be used as a forgivable loan over a period of 5 years. During the conversation with the Economic Development Advisory Committee, the discussion centered around that this is a unique opportunity for Sign Badgers to present for an industrial space that normally would not collect, or ideally, this space would generate sales tax. Many spaces like this are held for industrial manufacturing and do not collect a sales tax. This factored into the committee's ultimate recommendation for approval to the City Commission. Included in your agenda is a staff report and a summary from Sign Badgers, as well as design and plans. Dawson from Sign Badgers is here in the audience, and I can certainly invite him up to answer any business-related questions, as well as Nancy from Rusted Properties, in which the West Fargo location is the West Fargo location's representation. I'll stand for questions at this time.
Questions for Casey? Anyone? Commissioner Jorgensen.
I guess if he could come to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening, thanks for coming.
You bet.
So with the amount that you're requesting, how much is going into production space and how much is in the office space and how much is out of pocket?
I have significant six-figure investment into the business and will into the fit-up as well. And, you know, it's really hard to sort of draw a line between what's office, what's production in this fit-up portion, because what we're doing is subdividing a space, leaving part of the space essentially open. Yeah, the drawings might help us out here. You know, so that top left corner, if you will, is going to be the office space, and the rest is production. So I'd say, you know, if you want to put rough numbers on it, probably 25% of this is dedicated as office space and 75% is production.
Do you have any stake in the actual building itself?
No.
I just think this is an extreme amount of money for a business that size. I mean, we gave the steel company the same amount for a 90,000 square foot warehouse, and this is being asked for a 5,000 square foot warehouse that brings in, one report says 12 to 15, the other one says 15 to 20. I have a tough time with this.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Zundell.
Yeah, you said you have significant investments in it. How much money are you investing in this fit-up?
I have a six-figure investment in the business.
Okay.
Excuse me if I misspoke. The fit-up would be, you know, primarily funded with these dollars. And then, you know, the landlord is going to kick in some portion of that as well. But, you know, my Fargo proposal is 0 TI coming in from me. It's, you know, actually $375,000 that would come from the developer over there. So this is a bridge that basically gives me, apples to apples. And so I would not have personal investment into the fit up into this space. But, it's also a lease space. And, the alternative is $0 investment in the Fargo side.
And then are you expecting sales to increase by increasing your current space as well? Or is the sales tax number that Casey provided?
I absolutely see growth in this business and in this vertical. It's part of why I'm taking capital risk to invest in it. And we see, we're in active M&A discussions with other regional sign companies. We'd love for West Fargo to be sort of our home and our hub for production going forward. My team would prefer to stay here, and it's served us well. And they've enjoyed being in the West Fargo community. And so we as a result of the new space, of course, we'll see better efficiency, and it'll, have a lot of benefits for our team. But, sort of the broader business strategy will be to grow here and, ultimately contribute more sales tax to the city of West Fargo.
And then I'm going to clarify, when you say you'd rather be in West Fargo, what makes you rather want to be here than not?
My team prefers, working in this community. Many of them live in this community. And, but I have to make a business decision here, right? And there's a capital incentive for me to go to Fargo. My team's going to commute to where we go, and we're probably going to head to where the capital is.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
On the overview picture, which one of the buildings is it?
It's the one that's going up currently. So it's actually, it'd be in that bottom right-hand corner there, where the dirt is, yeah.
This cursor.
Oh, so there's no building there currently?
It's awaiting a floor being poured in it.
If I'm not mistaken, you're taking up a portion of that building, not the full.
Half of it.
Not the full
Correct.
half, yep.
So this building hasn't been built, and just, would there be room for you to expand in that building?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Which is part of what makes it attractive. We could push into the other half if we need.
Commissioner Olson.
I was at your presentation at the EDAC committee, and could you just refresh my memory on what your business, how big a footprint nationwide, I think?
Yeah.
Where you're out and doing and all that kinds of stuff?
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. Thank you. I'm part of this is part of a broader set of investments on my part that operate in sort of the communications and media space. So I have a company that does traditional and digital media placement, a company that does direct mail, a company that does public opinion research, and we work with clients all over the country. This was sort of a strategy-first investment on our part. We had those other clients coming to us looking for visual marketing and signage. We couldn't provide that in-house. It's also part of my personal story. My mom started a sign shop in our basement on the farm in northeast North Dakota, so I grew up in a crib watching her hand paint signs. And before that, my great-uncle George was a sign painter in the 1920s, so it's kind of a fun return to this business for me. But, Sign Badgers and their excellent team of 12 serves some pretty large companies nationwide. We do most of the interior affixed signage for all Shields locations around the country. RDO has been a long time, very committed customer as well. Anytime they open a new dealership around the country, we're providing equipment, decals, things like that. Those are two verticals, middle market retail and equipment dealers where we see significant growth, sort of from Fargo out to the rest of the country. So it'll be, I think, a strong investment for us. It's always fun to back a great team as well.
So keeping your footprint in West Fargo brings the spotlight back on what we can produce here in West Fargo. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought
Additional questions?
I thought I'd just offer one piece of clarity as I stumbled over this earlier, but the intention, a lot of the spaces in this area offer a great opportunity for small business and businesses. The majority of them don't create large amount of jobs. Usually you see 1 or 2 jobs, maybe 3. In addition, you're not going to see production coming out of this area or any amount of any amount of sales tax. I think to that point, when we had this conversation at the EDAC, being even more candid, the conversation was about more around an opportunity loss rather than recognizing this as a significant dollar amount in comparison to maybe some of the other incentives that we've offered. And so I just wanted to kind of share some of that candid feedback.
Commissioner Zundell.
When you talk about some of the loan forgiveness pieces of it, I feel like basically you just have completions of operations. Did you, and like I guess I feel like part of our discussion also centered around job retention and like continued commitment. Is there anything other than they just have to have the doors open? Or when you say forgivable loan, what are your markers? Because they seem very vague in this.
Sure. That's something we can certainly add. Anytime we have an incentive, we also work with our city attorney to create a business incentive agreement. So that's something we can add around job retention numbers. I don't have anything specific outlined in this proposal for job retention numbers. It's something we could talk about. In addition, I would say the other kind of aspect that we look at is this space, once fit up, let's say Sign Badgers eventually expands to the point where this space is no longer feasible for them, this space and the fit up and those dollars will remain here in West Fargo. It's not going into equipment, it's not going into vehicles or items that would leave the community. That fit up would remain and be able to be reused by an additional future tenant. And so that acts much like the enterprise grant does in our downtown space. And so that's where kind of the model around this discussion has come from.
If I may, too, I think in the discussion at EDAC, we did sort of put up, or discussed a forgiveness clock, so, X amount every year for 5 years on a lease term, which certainly is something that we would very much understand and be amenable to.
Yeah, I see just like two kind of chunks. And then what happens if the business isn't successful? So they don't complete the 2.5 years of operations that you have chunked out in each of the different sections.
That's something that we'd have to work with our city attorney to create a specific clawback. And those can be challenging, so I recognize that.
Are clawbacks ever successful really in these circumstances?
I mean, it's a tough position because you're going into it with the business and then the business fails probably, right? And so then you're in that position where you're trying to recoup the dollars that you invested. So it's a tough spot for the city.
Would it transfer ownership? So if someone bought out Sign Badgers, for example, would the part of the forgivable loans stay with the business regardless of who owns it?
I would lean on our city attorney to answer that question.
No, we can certainly draft it that way.
Yeah, I think it would be essentially booked as a liability in the entity.
I guess I just see this as a lot of money to fit up a building. I don't see it. I've done commercial projects. I don't see putting these walls, bathrooms and stuff in costing you $275,000.
I can appreciate that. I didn't think it would either.
Have you gotten quotes or bids?
That's what supports the number.
Additional questions? This is an actionable item, Commissioners.
Will we approve the proposed business incentive?
Commissioner Olson moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Zundell seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the business incentive request by Sign Badgers as presented by Casey Sanders Berglund this evening. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Let the record show it's a 4-1 vote. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We move on to item number 5, the final 2026 City of West Fargo budget presentation. We call on Mr. Dustin Scott, City Administrator for the City of West Fargo, and Mr. Willie Galindo, Director of Finance. The city budget. Mr. Scott, good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Commission President Dardis and Commissioners. Well, I'm honored and privileged to have the opportunity to introduce our 2026 final budget for your consideration tonight. A memo is available in our agenda packet. That memo, by the way, was updated a little bit this afternoon, specifically adding a section regarding the property taxes, and the full budget document is available on our website. I'll give a brief overview of the memo that you have before you and the budget, and then I'll call on Willie to walk through some of the numbers. But before I do that, I want to start with some acknowledgments. I want to extend my sincere appreciation to those who've helped lead this effort and shape this budget to where we are today. Starting with Nick and Willie, their first time managing the budget process, and I think they did a phenomenal job bringing efficiency, structure, and integrity throughout the budget and the process in general. And of course, Sheila and the rest of the budget team for their hard work and diligence getting everything in order. I'd also like to thank Rachel Ordman. As usual, she's the one bringing everything together for public consumption, and I think she's done a fantastic job with the 26 budget book. If you've not had an opportunity yet, please go through it. I feel like it is very user-friendly, easy to follow, and well put together. So thank you, Rachel. Of course, our department heads and staff who've approached this year's budget cycle with discipline and teamwork, finding over $3 million worth of reductions to their initial requests while maintaining a focus and protecting our services that our residents deserve. City Commissioners, we thank you for your active participation throughout, and all of your guidance has been greatly appreciated and of course has played a significant role in achieving the 2026 budget. And finally, to our residents, we thank you for staying engaged and entrusting us to serve you. So with that, I'll walk through a few highlights before I turn it over to Willie. First, the budget pauses all new FTE requests while supporting the retention of our existing staff through a 2.5% COLA and competitive benefits. The general fund is balanced without the use of reserves. I want to point out that there are a few funds that appear to have deficits, like our sales tax funds, debt service. However, there is cash on hand to fund the projects that have already been approved by the City Commission. And you heard some of that discussion with the audit report. So while the capital sales tax fund, for example, has a $10 or $11 million deficit, that's going to be supplemented through the cash on hand. And again, those projects have all been before the commission and approved, or will be coming before the commission for approval. We've continued to improve our transparency. The budget book includes departmental overviews, priority statements, and an itemized appendices that contains all of the detail for each department. Here is the new section that was added this afternoon. In accordance with new state law, the 2026 budget includes a 5.4% increase in property tax revenue. So that includes the 3% cap, along with the new growth that is also allowed by that new state law. Revenue from property taxes support our general fund, library fund, municipal library, and our share of special assessments. The allocation of property tax revenues are based on departmental budget needs. So that's a high-level overview of our budget, but I'm going to call Willie up to talk through the changes that have been made since we last presented on September 8th, as well as go through the numbers that are available in that summary of funds table at the back of this memo. Willie.
Good evening, Commissioners. So scroll down to before I go over the summary of the schedule that you see before you, there are a few changes that were made since we last met during September 8th public hearing and the budget draft. One of them being we have a TIF district, Sand Hills, which was not included in the debt service fund listing, and is now included as well. This is a new fund for 2024, and we have additional revenues totaling $34,100 that is estimated for next year, and brings the total debt service fund revenue to $602,972. The second item is the revenue for the Lights Plaza and the parking ramp for Cheyenne was adjusted. That revenue went from $528,500 to $536,200 to account for a transfer to our parking ramp fund to match the expenditures, as it had a small deficit of $7,700. Starting from the top, we're looking at the governmental funds. No change has been made there since the final draft was presented back in September the 8th. All the general funds, including the library, the municipal airport, and sheriff specials, have not been adjusted. Next up is the enterprise funds, or the utility funds. That's comprised primarily of the utility fee revenue, and these funds have a surplus forecasted in 2026, which will be funds used for strategic reserves. After that, we have the sales tax that our city administrator was discussing. Those are primarily made up of the sales tax portions between public safety, capital improvement sales tax, and economic development sales tax. Only the revenues for 2026 are being displayed here. As our city administrator discussed earlier, that cash balances, or in accounting, we call them fund balances, are utilized to offset the additional expenditures for the 2026 year. After that, we have what we call agencies. Now we call them custodial funds. These are funds that the city has no direct oversight or governmental control over, and they're considered normally a pass-through, which is why whatever comes in normally comes out, so that's neutral. Then we have our special funds that include all the other special revenue funds that the city has, which include the state aid, such as the prairie dog funds, the city-owned plazas that we discussed a little earlier, the Cheyenne, and other special circumstances as well. The gaming fund has a $150,000 deficit because there is a fund balance that stems from gaming grant funds that appear to have started back in 1983 when the state was providing these grant funds to cities that were non-oil generating cities. After that, we have the debt service funds, and these funds are used to pay down the debt of the city. And they also show a small deficit as we have proceeds from previous year's revenues that have accumulated, whether from special assessments or other forms of proceeds. And that concludes my section regarding the summary of the revenues and expenditures for the city of West Fargo. And I stand in front of you to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Zundell.
Could you walk through the gaming fund again?
Yes, so the gaming fund is like the revenues are made up of the taxes collected by the state, and they provide these grant funds over to these various cities. We are included in that. In addition to that, we also get the fees that we charge for gaming permits. And what we're using these funds for is the administration of those charitable permits.
So you're looping it back into the general fund, essentially?
Correct. So previously, all the expenditures that come from the salaries of these employees are hitting the general fund initially.
Do you have any idea what the fund balance is of the gaming fund after we deficit out $135,000?
It's estimated to still have a small sum. I think it was about $10,000. And we're looking to see if they start to build up again at the end of this year. And next year, then, we may consider moving those and transferring back to general fund as well.
Okay. And then just a point of clarification, so I understand, as far as the property tax cap, does that affect the library and the airport?
It does, because it's part of the overall tax. So there, it is part of the cap. The only one that is not considered part of the cap is the share of specials.
So did they individually cap at the retrospective 5% in that budget, or did you lump them all together minus the share of specials to get to a cumulative 5 point, I think you said 26, Dustin?
I see Dustin wants to come up here, so.
You're doing fine.
Okay. Yes.
I don't know, he's lurking in, he's looking like he's ready.
Yeah, I was like,
Well, I can
somebody
speak,
behind me.
I can speak on behalf of the airport fund. That went up higher because now we're selling the gas. So we're taking in the revenue to cover the expenditure.
Right, I'm just wondering how that looped in, how we're basically treating the different mill, or how we treated the milled entities different when they had the
Correct.
different ones in that.
Right. Normally what we do is we oversee the overall taxes. So technically it would be the general, library, and municipal airport combined based on 2025's figures. From there, we move on to add the new growth component to it, which includes the actual new growth of the city, as well as this year, we had a TIF district that closed down. So that created another benefit, which is considered new growth under the state law. Once we added those and calculated the new growth value, the dollars associated with that, we added that to the 2025 base year, and then we took the 3% of that. So the cap is included of municipal and airport and library.
I think what I'm trying to understand is if they capped each individual budget, or if you did a lump sum of all the money and then everyone had to work within those confines. Does that question make sense?
Yes, so I would say it's the latter portion of that, where it's a combined dollar amount, and basically we'll work to see which fund sources are needed in each of the segments.
I'll offer a little bit of additional.
City,
Sure.
it's the entire.
I'll just build on what Willie's saying there, and it's actually included in the memo here. So, the revenue from our property taxes is calculated as a lump sum over, that's just property tax revenue. That revenue goes into our general fund, it goes into the library, the airport, as well as share of special assessments. The amount that we are apportioning to those funds are dependent upon their budget needs. So the 3% cap does not cap any individual fund's budget, if you will. Think of the property taxes as one of our revenue streams, which is less than 50. Yep, so of that total revenue stream, when we calculated out the 3% cap and then added in the new growth, all of that led to a total dollar amount, 22 plus or minus $1 million. Of that, we took and then set portions to each of those funds based on their departmental needs or their fund needs, so.
And my only question with that, as we're voting on this, is I just want to ensure, I worry a little bit with this 3% because, for example, they have different boards that approve budgets, and we're obviously the overall approving of what those are considering, but if they're all lumped in, I think I'm maybe, and Katie, perhaps I can ask you that, is how do we, they're two separate boards and they're sort of government entities. They're not taking their cap, but it counts as our cap because it's all out of the same fund.
Right, because the city collects it.
Okay,
Yeah, and maybe to think of it this way, those boards are charged with overseeing their expense budgets. The city establishes their revenue stream
Okay.
through an allotment of not just property tax revenue, but other stuff. So, again, think of those boards as governing their operational expenses.
okay.
For the record, on your memorandum, we don't have the updated one. We do not have anything about your property tax calculations in the document that I have, or the commissioners have, just for the record.
Just Just to clarify that, are you looking at a printed copy or what you see on the screen here?
What I see on the screen in our printed copy does not have number 2 property tax calculations.
Right, yep, that was added this afternoon after our discussion this morning.
Okay. But that's the most important discussion item with regard to Commissioner Zundell's question.
Yep, so it has been added to the agenda packet that is available online. If you would like a new printed version, we can certainly do that, and the information is available, so just let us know if you need more or less.
Okay. Any other questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Olson?
Can you just give me the high overview of, if you go to your attachment 2, where it shows our revenues is 123.7 million, and our expenses are 134.2 million, so that's a deficit of 10.5 million. So explain how that all works, and we still have a balanced budget.
Okay, yep, so that's where my initial opening remark, I was indicating that while we will have some of these funds in deficit, there are existing cash balances. So for example, the capital sales tax balance, and I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it is flush enough to afford the projects that we are expending in '26. I believe John alluded to it during the audit report that these capital funds get to be an awkward timing thing of when are you approving the projects, completing the work, and writing the checks. And so they don't necessarily always align with your budgeting schedule. So and in the budget, we're focused on what is the annual collection and what is the annual expense. So for example, the annual revenue for '26 is there, but the expense is twice as much because we've already committed to those projects. And we've committed knowing that we have enough cash on hand to afford those projects. Now, what Willie does in collaboration with the engineering team is they take a look at a 5-year projection. What are the projects we're going to do? What are the monies used to fund those projects? And can we move forward with them? So, but yes, when you look at and see that there's a deficit, it's because this budget is not accounting for the cash that was already encumbered to finance those projects. If that's making sense.
Yep, I wanted the public to hear that.
Yep. Where you can find that information is on our monthly financial reports, which you would have seen in the agenda packet, the financial report through July and the financial report through August. You'll see cash balances there.
Thank you.
And I do have a couple closing remarks if you don't have any other questions.
Any additional questions,
on the
Commissioner?
budget stuff. Yeah. So I just want to go back to, in the memo here, there are next steps identified. So the first one being tonight's meeting. Of course, you have the opportunity or option to approve the budget, either as presented or with changes. You could direct staff to continue to work on the budget and hold either a special meeting or bring it forward to your next regular meeting on October 6th. But the final budget is due to the county by October 10th. So again, those are your options in moving forward with approving the final budget. Once the budget is approved, then of course, we turn that over to the county. We will make sure everything is published on our website and publicly available. And then finally, residents will receive their preliminary tax statements or their tax statements in December. The county will distribute those in December. So one of the legislative changes that we all know occurred is the county was not required to send out preliminary tax statements this summer. So that will be delayed until December. So those are your next steps. And again, Willie and I are available for any questions.
Any additional questions?
I move we approve the 2026 budget as presented.
Commissioner Zundell moves to approve the 2026 City of West Fargo budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. I have a motion and a second to approve the final 2026 City of West Fargo budget as presented this evening. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you again.
Gentlemen.
Yes, thank you.
Item number 6 is A25-16 Bogey 4th Edition. Request for access to an arterial street. We're going to call on Mr. Aaron Nelson, Director of Planning and Zoning for the City of West Fargo. Good evening and welcome, Mr. Nelson.
Good evening, President Dardis and Commissioners. So item 6 is a request for approval of full access of a driveway onto an arterial roadway, along with associated access agreement. This item does come to you with a recommendation for approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I'll just start with aerial map here. The subject property is located at 475 12th Avenue Northeast, which is the site of the Hazers Self-Service Auto Parts salvage yard. The applicant currently has a right-in, right-out driveway access point onto 12th Avenue on the north end of their property here. Let's scroll down a little bit to another graphic in your packet here. Full access is currently restricted due to the presence of a raised concrete median within the center of 12th Avenue Northeast that extends approximately 350 feet east of the adjacent railroad tracks, which are located just to the west here. The applicant is requesting removal of the raised concrete median at this location in order to allow full access into their property. This request has been reviewed by the engineering staff in contact with the original consultant design team that did the design work for this portion of 12th Avenue. The access point in question is approximately 350 feet from the nearest driveway or intersection, which does meet our minimum standards for driveway and access spacing of our subdivision ordinance. And while staff does not have any concerns with the removal of the median at this location, future traffic volumes and conditions may warrant reinstallation of a raised median at some point in the future if and when traffic volumes increase along 12th Avenue. As such, staff recommends that the approval of the applicant's request be conditioned on the applicant's waiver of a right to protest any future decision by the city to reinstall a raised median and/or to otherwise restrict access if conditions warrant, as well as the applicant's waiver of the right to protest any costs for such improvements that may be assessed in accordance with the city's infrastructure funding policy. Costs associated with the proposed removal of the median will be the responsibility of the applicant, and at least 100 feet of the raised median will remain just to the east of the railroad crossing there. So with that overview, the request action tonight again is to approve the request for full access on 12th Avenue at this location with the conditions noted in the staff report, and to approve the associated access agreement which documents those conditions. So with that, happy to answer any questions you have for staff.
Questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Zundell.
I'm going to ask the question on everybody's mind. Tell me why this is different than the ongoing argument with the Shea West location.
Yeah. So the main difference here is there's just adequate spacing between other driveway and intersection points. Shea West is a little different in that it is in proximity to a major intersection with the traffic control traffic light, and the queues required for that traffic light encroach into the area that Shea West would be requesting for their
And
full
there's
access.
none of that here. There's no traffic, DOT regulation, no nothing like that to deny a request, and the applicant is paying for it.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Just different context, yep.
Thank you.
With that being said, why was it placed there in the first place then?
So that one I'll probably defer to Mr. Hanson, if that's all right, or Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, Commissioner President Artis and Commissioners. We did do some research. I obviously wasn't around when this was originally constructed, and I had the same question as well, because on the west side of the tracks, the median sticks out about 100 feet. On the east side of the tracks, it sticks out about approximately 340, 350 feet. So why so long on the east side? I thought maybe that might be a quiet zone for the railroad, something like that. Found out that it was not a railroad requirement. It's my belief that at the time it was installed to restrict open access into that property. But a couple of the things that engineering has looked over in this new request is that there are people that are traveling westbound, and they're making U-turns in the railroad track and beyond the railroad track right now. We recently had a pickup that a train hit it, basically. Luckily, the person that was driving the pickup survived. But it is a safety issue. And also, as Aaron described, we don't have any current rules against letting us allow this, but we did want to take a look as the future, once the diversion's done and we've got thousands of acres of developable land that could produce eventual traffic on here that might want us to restrict the access again in the future. Right now, the traffic patterns don't suggest to us that we can't allow this accommodation as long as we're reserving the right to recreate the accommodation in the event that the traffic levels do increase with future growth of the city. So
the removal of this is at the expense of the owner?
Yep, they would have to take out a permit from us and do it as a private job with a licensed contractor in good standing with the city.
In the future, if the traffic increases and it has to go back in there, at whose expense?
That would be, at the time, it would be a public improvement project that we would do, and we would run it through our standard assessment procedures that we would normally do. So I think we're talking years and years in the future, and as far as the amount of cost for extending a median, it's fairly negligible in the overall thing. But it would be able to be assessed in our current rate, we would assess it at 70%.
That being said, to remove it and then the possibility that we're going to special assess and pay for it makes absolutely no sense. This should not be approved, in my opinion. Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. There was a comment made that this would be a full access. Will they be able to make a left out? Or are they still only doing a right out?
No?
Yeah, it would be a full access.
Full access.
Commissioner Anderson.
To that point, the question I had was, do we know if there's many trucks or vehicles taking a left to go west that would need to go west out of there? Or is the need coming from westbound traffic turning left into the driveway and then they would right out?
Yeah, talking with the owner, the vast majority of the traffic are, as far as truck traffic is, they're coming from the east. They want to take a left into the lot. And then when they leave, their intent for the vast majority of those trucks would be to take a right and head off to the east again.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Olson?
So could we just make it a three-quarter?
There's no room for a three-quarter. There's not enough room in the median to make a three-quarter because you have to have enough room to provide. If you look at a three-quarter, when they're turning, they have to stop at an angle. There isn't enough room for that, whereas there is enough room to just extend that center turn lane, that shared turn lane that's in the center. That can be extended at the current standard width for there to be a queuing allowed, and they can make a turn into it from that center turn.
But there's enough room to make a full access so they can make a left out. But we can't just make it so that it's only a left in coming from the east.
Right. It doesn't
make sense.
It doesn't seem like it makes sense, but when you're having to put enough concrete in there so that you can get a skewed vehicle to stop in the middle of some turning lanes, as opposed to having them just stop facing directly to the west, you need more room in the median for that skewed stopping maneuver.
Commissioner Sundell?
Were there any discussions about them being responsible if we have to have it closed again for the cost? Like, I understand they're going to be responsible for the cost to remove it, but should it warrant to have it closed again? Was there any discussion, or do you think the applicant would be agreeable to covering that cost?
So the intent of being put into the agreement is that they're waiving any rights to the amount of assessments that we would assess against that property in the event that we do close it. At the time of that project, benefit would be determined as to who's benefiting and who's not from that, and then assessments would be basically levied against whatever properties are benefiting at the time of that assessment in the future. So there isn't any clause that says, okay, we'll let you pay to open it, but if we ever want to close it, you have to pay 100% for the closure. That is not in the agreement.
I guess my question would be, from their perspective, is that, I mean, that would be the opposite of a benefit. if they're asking us to open it, because that's gonna benefit them, closing it, I'm not sure, and maybe that's different in special assessment words or whatever, but I would say it's the opposite of a benefit, so.
Typically for street projects, the benefit is, absolutely could be argued at the time, I'm not benefiting from this. However, a lot of times when you're talking street improvement projects, the benefit for any local or regional or, arterial street project, when that is done, it is assessed at a front footage basis to everybody that abuts the project, because the benefits of improving traffic circulation on collector roadways is a benefit to all that are adjacent to it. So there's intrinsic benefit in improving the maneuvering of traffic on the roadway. Now, again, yeah, I agree 100%. The current owner at the time, because it might not even be these people, this might be 20 years in the future or longer, they might be, and I would assume they probably would be at a commission meeting saying, how is this any benefit to me? I don't want this to close. This is going to, and you can create all the arguments you can think of. But we are putting in there that at the time, whatever assessment is deemed to be a benefit to their property, they would not have the right to contest that.
So my question would be, does that transfer to owners? Like, if they sell their property to somebody else, someone else now owns this subject property, we do whatever, we deem they have to close it, can those people, I mean, I would presume they would have the ability to protest, because they're not the ones who signed this agreement?
Correct. I believe that this stays with the property, and I would look at the city attorney, but she's shaking her head in affirmative as well for that.
Yeah, I think the intent was to record it so that it would be binding on future owners.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Commissioner Olson, then Commissioner Jorgensen. Commissioner Olson.
Dan, can you move your slides to number 4, slide 4? Oh, go the other way. Keep going. Right there. What is preventing their customers from coming in and having access at 11th Avenue Northeast versus coming in on 12th Avenue? They can have full access right there, and it wouldn't affect the railroad or anything up there.
That is a good argument. 11th Avenue is more of a local roadway as opposed to the 12th Avenue, and it would be, trucks and things of that nature that are coming to access their parcel going through that local roadway. However, it is a city street, so it is public right-of-way.
Is it constructed so it could hold the traffic?
Yep, everything out there is constructed as a industrial section.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
I just see it as a bottleneck to put that to give them access in there, because the truck bypass lane is just barely starting. There won't be enough room to fully gain access to the bypass lane.
So the intent would be that where the median occupies that space, the median would be removed, creating a shared center turn lane that has allowed plenty of queuing, especially since an average daily traffic to the site is, 10, 15 vehicles, something like that. We're not talking that this is a major thoroughfare to get in and out of there. So with the amount of traffic that's going in there, and the bypass lane is not in assistance or to the detriment of what we're talking about here today, because the center turn lane would be able to handle what we're talking about.
It's too bad this work wasn't done in the spring before we redid that whole road. With all them.
Yeah, and from what I can gather is that the median was intentionally, when the roadway was constructed, I believe there was, talking to the design team, there was talk with the current Public Works staff and everything as far as the design of the road. It was chosen to do that. Again, I'm not 100% certain exactly why, but my guess would be, it would be to have restricted access to that site, would be my guess. But again, what we're seeing is there are illegal and dangerous turning movements that are occurring because it is restricted. And there are trucks headed west that need to go into there, and there isn't a natural U-turn for a truck off to the west unless you go around a way. So So that's why engineering is, we don't see a reason why at this point it should be flat out red flag denied. And we don't see a detriment to allowing it at this point, along with the contingency that we have the right to put it back this way someday when the population of West Fargo increases and traffic levels increase.
Who's the neighbor to the right?
I believe that's Midland Garage. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Is that divider, does it go to their driveway?
Their driveway is a full access that has the exact same situation we're creating here.
Thank you. Commissioner Zundel?
Would it be possible to amend the agreement to say if we had to put it back, they would be responsible for 100% of the cost?
Yeah, we could make that amendment. I don't know that the landowner will be open to it or not. I know there was a lot of discussion back and forth with him.
We originally, I believe, were starting from that point, and they argued that we should pay our fair share, but not being able to put their name in writing that a future owner at the behest of the city with, regardless of whatever we want, they just have to pay 100% of it without being able to go through a special assessment procedure.
But it sounds like the special assessment procedure they can't go through anyways, under the concept of they can't protest the special assessment. So they're already kind of signing away the rights of the property owner
Right.
to protest it anyways. I guess I don't think it's fair to expend any money from a city budget to basically benefit this sole property. So I can understand the concept of wanting to do it and it not being a problem under any other regulation standards. There's no reason not to do it. I just don't know that it's fair to commit additional funds because we undid it for one property to redo it. So I guess I would personally make the motion to approve it under the premise that they're going to pay 100% of it if it has to go back of just that portion. Whatever the cost of returning the median to be, what it would be, if anybody has an appetite for that, but.
Got a motion?
Sure.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been a motion and a second to approve 825-16 Bogey Fourth Edition with amended language that the property owner would have to pay 100% to reconstruct. That about it? Is that right? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion passes 3-2. Item number 7 is the second reading of 825-17, Cheyenne Second Edition, a request for rezoning from R2 to P. Again, we call on Aaron Nelson, Director of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you. So item 7 is an application to rezone the South Elementary School property from R2, multi-dwelling residential, to P, public facilities. The specific requested action today is to approve the second reading of the rezoning ordinance. The first reading of the ordinance was approved by the City Commission at your last regular meeting back on September 8th, at which time a public hearing was held. There have been no changes or updates to the request since it was presented to the Commission on September 8th. So unless there are additional questions for staff, again, the requested action tonight is to approve the second reading of the rezone ordinance.
I motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jorgensen. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the second reading of 825-17, Cheyenne Second Edition, a request from zoning from R2 to public land. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 8 is 825-12, FMD Mapleton subdivision, request for a final plat approval. Aaron Nelson, Director of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you. So item 8 is a request for approval of the final plat of FMD Mapleton subdivision along with the associated subdivision agreement. This request comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. In this case, the subject property includes the portion of the FM diversion project boundary that is located within Mapleton Township. So this is just west of the current city limits, approximately south, I think, of 12th Avenue North or northwest, and north of 52nd Avenue West. The primary purpose of this subdivision is to establish formal property boundaries and simplified legal description for the FM diversion right-of-way. The project is being platted one township at a time, starting from the north and moving south. Some of you may recall a similar type application for Raymond Township, just to the north, several months back. The plat is unique in that typical plat features, such as vacation of unneeded section line roads and dedication of additional public rights-of-way for future streets and utilities, are not included in the plat. Instead, the property is intended to be replatted upon substantial completion of the FM diversion project, once the final right-of-way boundaries are known. The replat will include the reconfiguration of easements, rights-of-way, based on the final project design as built. Additionally, the rezoning of the property is anticipated to take place with the future replat of the property at a date to be determined. To ensure the replat takes place and the associated subdivision or associated modifications to the rights-of-way are completed, the subdivision agreement basically documents that intent, guaranteeing that the FM diversion project will come back and replat the property once the project's complete. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have for staff. Otherwise, again, the requested action tonight is to approve the final plat and the associated agreement.
Commissioners have any questions?
Move we approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve the Metro Flood Diversion Mapleton subdivision request for a final plat. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Zundell seconds. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to number 9 is 825-13, the Metro Flood Diversion again. It's a Warren First Subdivision. Request for a final plot approval. Calling on Aaron Nelson, Director of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you. So item 9 is a request for approval of the final plat of FMD Warren First Subdivision, along with the associated subdivision agreement. This one again comes with you with a recommendation for approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Essentially, this is the same type of request, only instead of Mapleton Township, we're looking at Warren Township, specifically the section of Warren Township that the city of West Fargo exercises extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction. So here again, there's an associated subdivision agreement that basically documents the unique aspects of this plat and talks about the intention to come back and replat the property upon completion of the FM diversion project. So here again, happy to answer any questions you have for staff. Otherwise, it's the same request, different location.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Jorgensen moves to approve 825-13 for the Metro Flood Diversion Warren First Subdivision. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 10, 2025 sewer budget adjustment. We call on Mr. Matt Anvik, the Director of Public Works, City of West Fargo. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Commissioner President, Commissioners. Tonight I'm asking for an increase, or budget adjustment and increase to the chemical line item on the sewer department from $150,000 to $350,000. This came about because last fall we started getting, I had conversations with Fargo. They were getting some complaints about odor and smell. That was coming kind of on the north side of town, doing some testing. Our H2S levels were quite high at the time. So working with them, we started trying to take some samples, actually started doing some more odor, boy, I'm losing it today. Doing some more odor control, doing a little bit more injection to keep those levels down. And that's just basically the reason for this increase. The H2S causes odor issues, and just the increased chemical treatment is the cost to stay within the limits for that. When we identified this, we just decided to bring this forward kind of as a formal budget adjustment. This won't change the overall sewer department budget. It's just more or less this one line item. Just because of the large dollar figure, it'd be something that would really stand out in the budget next year. And without coming forward, explaining it in this way and kind of being more transparent about coming forward with it now, we probably would have got more questions in the future, so that we wanted to bring this forward now, explain what was going on and why we need to do this. So that'd be an increase of about $200,000 in that chemical line item. Like I said, no change to the overall sewer budget, but what we are looking at is future items to try and save this money. The way it is right now, we're about $1,000 a day in chemicals to keep that down, so that'll be quite a significant expense going forward. We're looking at some ozone injection stations. That's more of a cost heavy up front, but that annually then to do that is probably about $10,000 to $15,000. That's kind of a somewhat unproven a little bit on certain areas. We talked to some other cities that have that, and it's worked well for them. We're in the middle of doing kind of a testing phase here in the next few months, hopefully getting a small unit up here for a rental, and just to make sure it's kind of a proof of concept to make sure that works before we really start looking at bringing a large scale unit in to try and save some of those dollars in chemicals. We looked at odor corrosion and control study this last year. Those studies take about 9 months. We want to hold off of that until maybe next spring, get a little bit more information on the ozone, and then possibly bring that study back before you. Since they always, when they're doing that study, they want to see that, they want to see what the levels are in the winter when it's the cooler months as well, and then come back in the summer months when we have the warmer weather to test those levels as well. So with that, I'll ask for approval to increase the chemical line item from $150,000 to $350,000 for the 2025 budget, and I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioner Olson.
Thank you. Matt, in your policy analysis, you really don't speak to the odor, but it's more that this H2S can lead to corrosion, increased maintenance costs, and all that. So that is one of the other things that we need to do too, right? Rather than just maintaining the odor for Fargo to treat it. Correct. It's kind of a two, with the H2S, if you actually get some water in there, it turns into sulfuric acid, tripping over that one. And we've spent a lot of money in the last few years on some of the capital improvement program or projects to redo a lot of our manholes, lift stations, because of the corrosion that we've seen with the H2S. That's why we've had 3 kind of stations before for odor control and trying to contain that H2S, but we've seen, as our flows have increased, so has the H2S as well. And then the smell has been mitigated somewhat in West Fargo, but that long force main that goes up to Fargo, we were starting getting some odor up in around the airport area, kind of North Fargo area, where we need to keep our levels down as part of the agreement with Fargo. Sure. Thank you.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
I applaud you, Matt, when you first brought this to my attention, that, there's a problem and you're looking far ahead into solutions that are much more economical. So I applaud you and your team.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson.
I guess in relation to the budget that we just passed this evening, is this accounted for any future things next year? I know that that you're asking about 25 budget, but what impacts would this have to next year's budget?
We did increase the chemical line item budget. I think it's $220,000, I think, next year. So it's not quite that amount. What we'd look for is if this ozone treatment is what we think it's going to be and what we've talked to other counties, then we'd come back, and that would probably be like a capital one-time purchase that'll bring back through. That should keep that budget line item down in this next year. Like a 4 million gallon a day ozone generator that would go up on our SA40 site is right around that 250,000 mark. But that's a one-time purchase, and then it's about 10 to 15,000 for annual running, operating per year after that. So, that's a one-time purchase instead of like, 300,000 every year. So hopefully we can mitigate that as a one-time purchase and do that and keep that. But that is something we're going to have to monitor as we go forward to see how much we're going to have to increase that or decrease that budget in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from Mr. Envy? Commissioner Zundell moves to approve the adjustment to the 2025 sewer budget by $200,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Jorgensen seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve a sewer budget adjustment for 2025 to the tune of $200,000. Is there any further discussion?
Just a point of clarification.
Please.
It's a line item adjustment versus an overall
Correct.
sewer budget. The budget, the way Matt explained it, is
Good point. Thank you.
it's just a line item. We're changing the numbers there, but overall budgets remains the same.
Chemical budget. okay.
Chemical budget, yep.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Envy. Item number 11 is an improvement district number 3009. It's First Avenue reconstruction, Cheyenne Street to Fourth Avenue East. We call on Mr. Dan Hansen, the Director of Community Development. The purpose of the discussion is to approve the engineer's report and direct the engineer to prepare plans and specifications. Mr. Hansen, welcome back.
Thank you, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. As stated, this is a project that is back in front of you. The commission in June directed the engineer to prepare an engineer's report. We did have a consultant put together a feasibility study that was used to complete this engineer's report. And up on the screen, what you have in front of you is the proposed improvements that are being recommended to move forward with this project. One thing that I would point out is on the original, this project was in the 2024 CIP. It was originally slated to be replacing this or removing this lift station and installing the sanitary sewer over to Second, where we can connect it up to existing gravity. In doing so, we also have, in that section, we've got cast iron, water main, and asbestos concrete pipe, ACP pipe, both well beyond their serviceable life and in need of replacement. So that basically turns this area into a full-blown reconstruct of the roadway, since we would be digging that up already. And then, once you get that far, the next block over is one of the worst street sections in town. I mean, that if you go out and drive it, it is alligator cracked, and it is just, there's no repairing it at this point. So, and also from Second Street all the way west to Cheyenne Street, that is also asbestos concrete pipe that, again, is beyond its design life and in need of replacement. Right now, we do have the unique opportunity. There's a grant that I've talked about a number of times in front where the Department of Water Resources does give us grant money to pay for 60% of any water main replacement that we're doing in these areas that would be applicable to this. We have because of the timing of when those funds need to be applied for, we have already applied for that grant. That doesn't mean we have to do the project and use it, but didn't want to lose the window in applying for that. I would expect that we would be successful in getting that. And so it's kind of one of, the project is as soon as you get over to Second, it's only a block of really bad roadway and water main that is more than 50% paid for to increase from there. We don't have any more sanitary sewer that we would be doing west of Second, because the sanitary sewer is in the back alleys in these areas, and we did just, we're in the process of finishing up a project right now where we relined all of those mains. So the sanitary sewer is for the most part taken care of in this area, and this had become basically more of a water main, and as we're going by, there's some storm sewer inlets, not a lot of mainline storm sewer running east and west down the corridor, but as we're going past, to replace some lead pipes that the existing storm sewer is undersized to today's standards. So we would just, at the intersections, be making some storm sewer corrections with those. West of what I would call the school property, because eventually that roadway just ends up running right into the school property. I would say west of the school property, the curb and gutter in that area isn't that bad. It is a area where in the feasibility study, they recommended basically that we could replace the water main in that area, again, with that grant money. And then and included in what is funded through that grant is also replacing some of the roadway that's above the pipe that we're replacing. So we're getting roughly, say, half of the roadway already paid for to install that water main. And it wouldn't make sense just to probably just, leave a trench with a couple cold joints running down the length of the trench. So what we would be looking to do there would be to actually replace the pavement out to the curb line. And in the days that was installed, there was no drain tile. So one of the things that we can do is we can retrofit the inside of the curb with a drain tile so we can pick up some subsurface moisture and ambient water from the subbase, get that into the local storm sewer collection to help these roads perform longer. And in doing so, we would be able to basically get that roadway replaced as new with new water main. And in the end, it would leave this entire corridor from Cheyenne Street to the east reconstructed, because in 2017, the First Avenue east of this area was reconstructed. So that would basically complete this corridor in the core area with the new water main. So a lot of information, but that's basically the crux to the project. The new funds, this is a $3.86 million project. We believe that we would be getting just short of $1 million of grant money for that. Per the 2024 CIP guidelines, this is a reconstruct in an existing area, so we would be looking that the city, through capital improvement sales tax, would be paying for 70% of the cost of the improvements after the whole total project is bought down by the grant, leaving what we're estimating to be is approximately $776,000. That would be the 30% of the remainder that we would be looking to assess. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Question, Commissioner Jorgensen.
When would you look at doing this project? Next year?
It would be next year. If tonight the commission decides to proceed with the project, the first thing that we would probably do is come back at the next meeting and pass a resolution of necessity, because even though this is a water project and a sewer project on the east side, we would want to pass a resolution of necessity for this project. That would mean that we would have to advertise it, but we would use that as an opportunity to start having, basically, instead of just having a hearing of protest, we would also be looking to schedule neighborhood meetings as we did with the Westwood neighborhood. I think with all of these core area projects, the first step, as soon as the commission decides we are moving forward with the project, is to send out letters, get the residents into the fire hall again, and be able to lay out the project, the needs for the project, and provide the people within that improvement district the opportunity to see what the plan is and what we were looking to do. So we would move forward on a two-pronged phase. One would be community engagement with the stakeholders in the area, and then the second one would be also to have that resolution of necessity passed, so that way there would be an opportunity for the residents in the improvement district to issue a protest to the creation of that district.
I think the big logistical item here would be the rural fire department. All our trucks come out that north door onto First Avenue.
Yeah, and there would definitely need to be a lot of coordination with that.
Any other questions?
Move to approve the engineer's report and direct the engineer to prepare plans and specs.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve the engineer's report and direct the engineer to prepare plans and specification for improvement district number 3009, First Avenue East reconstruction, Cheyenne Street to 4th Street East. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Move on to item number 12. Project number 1351 is a sanitary lift station, SA 27 rehabilitation. We call on Mr. Jerry Wallace, city engineer. Purpose of this discussion is to accept the bid and award the contract. Good evening, Mr. Wallace, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Commission President and Commissioners. Thank you for your time tonight. As everybody is probably well aware, this is our big sanitary lift station on the south side of town that the entire south side pumps into, and that continues to move that sewage onward. Very critical lift station that we need to keep, in good working order and functioning. Essentially, we're here tonight to award a rehabilitation project to ensure that will continue to happen. Essentially, we'd be looking at awarding the base project to ICS in the amount of $1,446,400. The mechanical portion would be going to CC Steel in the amount of $125,000, and the electrical portion would be going to JDP Electric in the amount of $381,587. The total of all the bids, as you can see there in your packet, is $1,952,987. Compared to the engineer's opinion of cost, that is slightly below what we had anticipated at $2,160,000. There's a bunch of documentation available in your packet here for your review, but again, our staff recommendation would be to accept the bid and award the contract to ICS for $1,446,400, CC Steel for $125,000, and JDP Electric for $381,587. As far as the financial components and funding mechanism for this work, there is a significant amount of money still remaining in a legacy fund, call it. That's my term. But essentially, any properties on the south side that developed paid into this fund a hookup fee that involved reimbursement, essentially, for the cost of this lift station. And it would be our intention to draw from those funds to pay for the project. With that being said, I'm available for any questions.
And please note, there's no special assessments are intended to be used in the conjunction with this project. Any questions for Mr. Wallace? No?
Move we approve.
Commissioner Zundell moves to approve project number 1351 to accept the bid and award the contract. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We move on to item number 13, Improvement District number 3008, Meadow Ridge Development Reconstruction. Again, we call on Jerry Wallace, the city engineer. Purpose of the discussion is to approve an engineer's report, direct the engineer to prepare both plans and specifications, and a task order for basic services. Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. Commission President and Commissioners. Again, try to be respectful of your time tonight. I wish I could have gone directly after Dan's presentation with this one and just said ditto, but I will do my best to follow him up. Essentially, we're here tonight. Several years ago, we had requests from at least one commissioner to take a look at the streets in the Meadow Ridge neighborhood. A lot of the infrastructure, as far as the street components, is past its useful life. In diving into and looking at that work, potentially doing mill and overlays, what we found was that, there's some areas of the street that are only 2 to 4 inches of asphalt, and essentially a mill and overlay project would not be money well spent. There was a lot of curb and gutter to the point that, we started trending towards looking that we'd be reconstructing the entire street. And given the age of a lot of the utilities in there at just under 50 years, I believe, it didn't seem to make sense to us to reconstruct the street and then potentially sometime in the next 20 years before the street's useful life was up, have to go back in and essentially be looking at reconstructing the water and sewer and storm with the neighborhood as well. Bunch of documents before you tonight. I'll try to walk through things as best I can here, but I've touched on the street component. I will say that the sanitary sewer through this area in particular is generally flat. There's quite often times where Public Works is having to be out there weekly, jetting and vectoring the sanitary sewer system. And then the water mains in the area are, again, ACP, starting to go beyond their useful life. As Dan had kind of commented, we're trying to take advantage of a lot of funding components through the state, similar to the previous project that he presented. Basically, we would be looking at, as far as the financial components here, this again would be a 70-30 split where the city would pay the 70% of the cost of the project, and we'd be looking at special assessing that remaining 30%. Again, as Dan alluded to, if the commission chooses to move forward with this project, we would very quickly here be, beginning to engage the neighborhood in meetings and, try to, I guess, walk the initial phases of the project through that and hopefully, come to a point where we have a good project that, the neighborhood can be happy with, and essentially we'll have, completed hopefully the first reconstruction of the Meadow Ridge neighborhood. Our staff recommendation tonight would be to approve the engineer's report and direct both plans and specifications and approve the task order for basic services. Again, with that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Commissioner Olson has a question.
Thank you. Jerry, you said you wish you could have just said ditto to Dan's, but I see one slight difference.
Sure.
In this one, there's a task order attached to it where Dan's did not, so I'm just wondering what's the task order on this one, and why didn't we have one on the other one?
Yeah, sure.
I intentionally held a task order and told the consultant to hold off on the task order on mine because in the 2024 CIP for the First Avenue project, it originally was just a fourth to second. So I wanted to see if the commission wanted to proceed with that project, this project, or that project, and that way I wouldn't have a multi-tiered task order in front of you. I could just get one that matches the scope.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Zundell.
This would basically be the same scope of project that we're doing in Westwood this summer. It would be a total reconstruct for.
Very similar.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else?
I motion to approve the engineer's report and direct engineering to prepare both plans and specs and a task order for services.
Thank you, Commissioner Jorgensen. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Zundell seconds. We have a motion and a second for Improvement District Number 3008 to approve the engineer's report, direct the engineer to prepare both plans and specifications and a task order for basic services. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Item
time.
number 14 is an Improvement District Number 6059, sidewalk improvements, 2024 walks. Am I in the right spot?
That project got pulled from tonight's agenda.
Not on my agenda, it didn't. All right, number 15 is a resolution authorizing participation in the national opioid settlements. We're going to call on Mrs. Katie Schmidt, City Attorney for the City of West Fargo.
Thank you, Commission President and Commissioners. As you may be aware, Purdue Pharma petitioned for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2019 following the filing of thousands of lawsuits due to its role in the opioid crisis. Since filing, Purdue has been working with creditor stakeholders to arrive at an acceptable bankruptcy plan. Purdue recently filed its latest plan, is in the process of soliciting votes from creditors. As part of the proposed bankruptcy plan, Purdue and its owners will deposit billions of dollars into trusts for creditors. One such trust will be for governmental entities to receive funds. The state of North Dakota has opted into receiving funds from this trust, and it will receive the greatest allocation from the trust if a higher number of North Dakota counties and cities also opt into participating in the trust. If an entity doesn't opt into the trust, then the trustee will set aside those trust funds to use in defending against claims that are brought by those counties or cities that didn't opt in. What I have for you tonight to consider is a resolution to opt into the bankruptcy trust and the possibility to receive funds from the trust. Really, the only reason to not opt into the trust settlement would be if the city has separate claims that it wants to pursue against Purdue or its owners. But I'm not aware of any of those separate claims, and even if they were, they would be incredibly difficult to collect on. I'm available for any questions that you may have about the resolution.
Questions, Ms. Schmidt? Commissioner Zundell?
Not necessarily for you, but Dustin, is this some of the stuff that I feel like we've received settlement money and then we in turn give it to Cass Public Health?
Yep.
Would that be accurate? This would be the same thing?
Yes, Commissioner, yes, we do have an agreement with the City of Fargo, Cass County, Fargo Cass Public Health. We are currently receiving settlement funds from a few other entities. Those funds are collectively given to Fargo Cass Public Health to manage a program and dedicate their time to use those funds.
And so this would be, I presume, the same thing. Any funds we would receive would be passed through for programming for that?
That's correct, yep, based on our joint agreement.
Okay, thank you.
This is an actionable item.
Move we approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve the resolution authorizing participation in the national opioid settlements. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Zundell seconds. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 15 is to appoint a representative and an alternate for the Cass Clay Interagency Council on Homelessness.
That was very good.
Thank you.
All those words.
Mr. Scott?
Thank you, President Dardis and Commissioners. For those that aren't familiar, the council was recently formed, and pardon the interruption. So the council was recently formed and held their inaugural meeting back in July. Following that inaugural meeting, the participants made a suggestion or a motion to request that each participating agency designate a representative and an alternate to attend their meetings. Specifically, the agencies that are involved: Cass County, Clay County, Dilworth, Fargo, Horace, Moorhead, and West Fargo. They did request that the primary representative hold the portfolio of homelessness, housing, or related human services. We don't really have a portfolio that really aligns with that. You could argue administrative services, which is President Dardis, or you could argue community and development services, which would be Commissioner Anderson. But they're not stuck on that. It was just kind of a request or a suggestion. So at this time, I'll let you discuss amongst yourselves who would be designated to represent the city of West Fargo, again, as the primary representative and an alternate.
Since the council was formed, I've represented the city of West Fargo at all the meetings.
Is that you saying you'd like to continue?
I'd be happy to do it.
I nominate Mayor Dardis to be our representative.
Okay.
Second.
Is there anybody else that wants to do it? We do have to have, they do request that in case I can't make it, they do want an alternate also as well.
I can be the alternate.
Okay? Commissioner Zundell has volunteered to be the alternate. Commissioners, do we have a consensus that myself and Commissioner Zundell be the?
Yep.
All right, very good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you much.
Your city administrator's report.
I just have a brief report. I want to let you all know that we had a great North Dakota League of Cities conference last week. President Dardis, myself, and Willie attended. Our HR director presented at one of the sessions on Friday, so it was a great experience, great discussions with our other cities that are out there. So I can tell you that based on what we're hearing statewide, there are a lot of challenges out there. We're not immune to those things. But I will also say with a high level of pride that I really appreciate where we are at as a city, where we are going, and very much appreciate the opportunity to lead that effort. So that's the only update I have for you. I stand for any questions.
Questions for Mr. Scott? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All correspondence has been distributed in your mailboxes, unless you have received something individually that you'd like to share? No? Okay. Does any commissioner have any non-agenda items you'd like to discuss this evening? Does any department head have any non-agenda items you'd like to discuss? All right. Commissioner Anderson,
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Olson,
Second.
we stand adjourned.